Hello students, let's study chapter number 5 from our textbook. The name of the chapter is Separation of Substances. We have divided this chapter in two videos. In this part 1 of video, we are going to study some subtopics. These are concept and components of mixture, types of mixtures, homogeneous and heterogeneous mixtures, concept and types of solution. After that, we will discuss why water is called as universal solvent. In the next subtopic, we will discuss what is the need for separation of the mixtures. And at the end of the video, we will briefly go through the different methods of separation of mixtures. Introduction. In our day-to-day life, we come across many situations where we clean or separate different substances. For example, we filter tea powder while making tea, and we clean rice with water before using it for cooking, right? And other so many variety of situations are there where we need to separate the substances. So these are the different processes of separation of substances, and in this chapter we are going to study them. To begin with, let's now try to understand what is a mixture. Materials which contain two or more substances in any proportion is known as a mixture. A mixture is combination of two or more pure substances. Now see here in the diagram, the first pure substance is represented in the form of green molecules, while the other pure substance is represented in the form of purple colored molecules. So these two pure substances, when mixed together, as you can see in the third part of the diagram, that is mixture. Example, if you consider water as pure substance and the other pure substance as salt, and when we add salt to the water, we get salty water. So that is example of mixture. Components of mixture. What are components? The substances which combine to form the mixture are known as components of the mixture. The components of the mixture retain their original properties. This is very important fact. When we make a mixture with the help of two or more components, each component will retain its original properties. For example, if we consider salty water, then the property of the salt is the salty taste. So if we test the water, that mixture, we get that salty taste. And the property of the water is fluidity. So even if it is salty water, that water flows. Thus, the components of the mixture retain their original properties when they are mixed together. Now let's try to understand different types of mixture. In this table, we will get the brief idea about different types of mixtures. First type of mixture, solid into solid mixture. First example is soil. You are aware that stones, dirt, weathered rocks, organic matter, etc. are mixed in random proportion in the soil and all are solid in state, and that's why soil is the example of solid in solid mixture. Another example is an alloy, brass. This brass is made up of mixing two elements, copper and zinc together. Copper is solid in state, zinc is also solid in state. So mixing them together, we are getting solid mixture that is called as brass. Next, solid liquid mixture. If we go on adding sugar in water, we get sugar syrup, that is solid in liquid mixture. Smoke is the example of solid in gas mixture. How? We know that soot are particles basically which are solid in state and they are scattered in the air. Air is gaseous, right? So solid in gas, this is the type of the mixture that is formed when soot particles get mixed into the air and we call it as smoke. Next type of mixture is liquid in liquid mixture. The best example is lemonade. When we add lemon juice to water, we get lemonade. Both are liquid in state. Next type is liquid gas mixture. Under high pressure, when carbon dioxide is dissolved in water, that mixture is called as soda water. So in this soda water, carbon dioxide gas, which is gaseous in state, is mixed in liquid, that is water. And the last type of mixture is gas in gas mixture. You are aware that in air, different gases like oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, helium, etc. are mixed, right? So air is the example of gas in gas mixture. Mixtures are also classified as homogeneous mixture and heterogeneous mixture. Let's try to understand what are these. Some mixtures have uniform composition. We cannot see two different components separately in the phase of the mixture. Such mixtures are known as homogeneous mixtures. Okay, salt, sugar, milk are some of the examples. Now let's move on to the heterogeneous mixtures. Some mixtures do not have uniform composition. We can see the components of the mixture separately. Such mixtures are known as heterogeneous mixtures. Examples are soil, mud, oil, etc. Now in the picture form, it would be more clear to you. See, in case of heterogeneous mixtures, these pink colored molecules and gray colored molecules are separately seen. On the right hand side, if you check carefully, in case of homogeneous mixture, these two different types of molecules are uniformly present. We are not able to separate out these two different components, and that's why these are called as homogeneous mixtures. Now let's try to understand what is solution. It is very easy, just pay attention. When we keep adding a solute in a solvent, then the solute starts initially dissolving in it. Now let's try to understand what is solute. Solute is a substance that we dissolve in a solvent, that liquid. Okay? And what is solvent? Solvent is the liquid in which we dissolve the solute. Fine. So let's take an example. In the middle beaker, you see there is water. Okay, and in this dish copper sulfate is taken. So if we go on adding copper sulfate into this water, copper sulfate will be called as solute, while water will be called as solvent, and what we get is a solution of copper sulfate. So as we go on adding more and more copper sulfate, the color of this copper sulfate solution becomes more and more dark, right? But what will happen if we go on adding more and more copper sulfate in the solution? Let's see. You can see here three diagrams. First diagram, the color is not that dark. This kind of solution is called as dilute solution. If we go on adding copper sulfate more and more, then it will become concentrated solution. But beyond a certain limit, if you go on adding more and more copper sulfate, then it will not get dissolved, right? It will remain as it is and it will settle down at the bottom of this beaker. Such solution is called as saturated solution. Okay, so the solute remains undissolved, and this means that the solvent has reached its saturation point and no more solute can be dissolved in it, right? But still, at this stage, when the saturated solution is available with me, can I dissolve more and more solute into it? Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. So how can we do this? There are different ways to add more and more solute to the solvent. First is heating method. Heating a solution increases the solubility of the solute. So if we heat the mixture, then that liquid will accommodate more and more solute. Another way, very common way of increasing the quantity of the solute in the solvent is stirring. This is the part of our day-to-day life. You might be adding sugar to your milk that you drink. So in order to dissolve the sugar properly in milk, what we do? We do stir it with the help of a spoon. So that helps to increase the quantity of the solute in the solvent. And one more method is there, that instead of using crystalline solute, we have to use powdered solute. So in case of sugar, instead of using crystalline big crystals of sugar, if we use powdered sugar, then it will easily get dissolved and more quantity will get dissolved into the liquid. Now let's try to understand, why is water called as universal solvent? Water is very important for us, and the availability of the water makes our planet unique. You know that in our solar system, Earth is the only planet where water and life is found, right? About 75% Earth is covered with water. Moreover, our body, if we consider, then 60% of our body is made up of water. Water dissolves more substances than any other liquid. Hence, water is known as universal solvent. Remember, children, this reason is very important for you. Water helps in digestion of the food that we eat. You are aware that after breakfast, after lunch and dinner, whenever we eat something, we drink water. So this water helps in proper digestion of our food. Moreover, water carries all the nutrients from our food to various parts of our body, right? Water also dissolves waste products and helps in their excretion from our body. Certain toxic substances like urea is present in the blood after digestion. So that gets dissolved into water, and through urine it is expelled out of our body. So water plays very crucial, important role in this. Moreover, you are aware about the photosynthesis process. So water is very, very important in the process of photosynthesis. Green plants are preparing their own food with the help of the nutrients in the soil along with water, right? Okay. Now let's try to understand, why do we need these different methods of mixtures? Why do we need to separate the mixtures? There are two aspects. First aspect is that sometimes we may need to remove the undesirable components of the mixtures. Okay, let's consider one example. Suppose sand particles have got mixed into water and we want only water separately. We want to discard this sand. So in this example, we are supposed to separate this mixture, right? Chances are there that the oil might have got added into the water. Of course, they are immiscible liquids, so they will form two different layers, so we may need to separate these out. Second aspect, why do we need separation methods? Sometimes we need to separate useful components. So by seeing this picture, you must have understood this is called as churning of buttermilk, right? So if at all we will conduct this process of churning the buttermilk, we will be able to separate the butter from buttermilk, right? And butter is useful component of buttermilk. So sometimes separation processes are carried out in order to get useful components. Okay, now let's consider this chart. Okay, tree diagram, different methods of separation of mixtures. Now, depending on the type of the mixture, different methods can be used for separation. For example, if the mixture is solid in solid type of mixture, then hand picking, threshing, winnowing, sieving, this type of methods can be used. On the other hand, if solid in liquid type of mixtures are there, then different methods are there. Again, in that subtype is the solid which is dissolved in that particular, mixed into that particular mixture. If it is insoluble, it doesn't mix, it doesn't get dissolved, then what? Then we can carry out the process of sedimentation and decantation in order to separate that out. Fine. Another method for such mixture is filtration. So by filtration we can separate these components. Okay, now let's consider the case where the solid that is solute in that particular solution is soluble. That means it dissolves into the liquid. Then how will we separate that components? For that kind of mixtures, we have to use evaporation or maybe condensation process. So what are these all processes? We are going to study these processes in detail in the second video of this chapter. Okay, so this marks the end of the first video. We will discuss these methods in the second part of the video. Okay, let's stop. Thank you, students.